So A Quiet Place Part 2 comes out this week, so I figured I would review the original A Quiet Place from 2018. Real quick, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and tell me what you thought of the video down below in the comments, and what you think of A Quiet Place, and are you excited for A Quiet Place Part 2? And this is going to be a spoiler video. It's not going to have too many spoilers, but I will be talking some spoilers from A Quiet Place, so if you haven't seen it, I recommend you see it before you watch this video. Anyways, let's get into it. So in 2018, this movie really took everyone by surprise when John Krasinski, obviously, you know, from Jim in The Office, so he directed a horror movie starring him and his wife, where essentially there's these monsters who can't see, but they can hear, and they have really good hearing, so if you make a noise, they're going to kill you. And so this movie's really about that, and like the family survival with that concept. But overall, this movie is terrific. This is my third time watching it, and honestly, it gets better every single time. John Krasinski takes this kind of simple concept of, you know, these monsters that can only hear you, and they basically hunt with what they hear. He takes that simple concept and really fleshes it out to perfection with really a really deep story that has a lot about like family dynamics, and really very a creative story with how he treats this concept of, you know, these monsters. But first, this movie works so well as a horror film in the horror genre. First off, it just feels very horror, modern, you know, 2010s horror with how it's shot. It just feels that way. But also, it's pretty scary at times. It's not like super scary. It's not like the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it is pretty scary at times. But it's really more terrifying and suspenseful. That's kind of the nature of the movie. The concept of if you make a sound, you're gonna die. That's really like terrifying idea, and the idea is really done perfectly and really creatively. Like I mentioned, like the stuff with the waterfall where you can talk around the waterfall as long as it's louder. That's really creative, and really all the like the cool stuff with like the lights and all these like the fireworks and all this different stuff they have at the farm to kind of combat this enemy. I think it's really creative with what they do here, and that's definitely a nod to the writers and the director, as they do this concept really well. And that's one of the biggest strengths of this movie that made it so great, is that it's just, you take this simple concept and develop it so much to you just make it perfect. Like, and I've always loved the opening scene alone, where, you know, the kid has like the rocket ship and he just like turns it on and he just gets killed by the monster as John Krasinski is running towards him. It's a super like bold opening for a movie, and it's really sad and it's really terrifying, but I really love it. It's such a good opening to a horror film, I think, and really one of the best in my opinion when it comes to, you know, crazy openings to really set the tone of the movie, and it does that perfectly. But overall, this movie is just, you know, terrific with the suspense and with just how, you know, scary the monster is. But also, this movie's very dramatic with the concept. Obviously, you know, you have the daughter who's deaf, and you really have, you know, the family dynamic with that, with John Krasinski trying to, you know, make her a hearing aid, and really she ends up, obviously she's responsible for the kid dying in the beginning, so then there's a dynamic with that throughout the movie. And then the wife is pregnant, and there's a dynamic through that, so there's a lot of like drama elements mixed in here that also complement the story very well, in my opinion. And it gets pretty emotional towards the end of the movie, obviously with John Krasinski, you know, getting killed and sacrificing himself to save his kids in the movie. And then when you see exactly how much he was doing for his kids and for his deaf daughter, obviously making the hearing aids, you know, it gets pretty touching and heartwarming towards the end of the movie with, you know, just you see how much he was doing for them. And that definitely really helped the movie, I think. And it's really nice how they blended so much drama into, you know, a horror movie about a monster. It's pretty a nod once again to the director and the writers, with just how well they did that. And the family elements just work so well in this movie, and it definitely enhances the movie and takes it that next step, in my opinion. The acting from pretty much all four leads, I believe, is really good as well. You just get they all pull off this really just intense performance, particularly Emily Blunt and John Krasinski in the two like adult lead roles. They really convey the tone of the movie, just the suspense and just how terrifying this world is. They really do a good job at conveying that, and that just once again it just helps the movie just be this, you know, really almost a masterpiece of what they did here with this movie. But the acting in this movie is just terrific. But possibly the best element, you know, obviously the most, you know, the kind of biggest takeaway from this movie was the sound and the sound editing and the sound mixture and everything, because obviously you have these dead quiet scenes where they're being hunted and they just can't make a sound. Then you really mix that with, you know, these kind of small noises that they're allowed to make throughout the movie, and then you also mix that with like the score of the movie. They mix that in there as well. At different scenes throughout the movie. But the sound editing and sound mixing is incredible in this movie, and it's just really like next level type stuff. and it's like unbelievable what they were able to pull off with that. And once again, I'll go back to it a lot, but it helps convey the tone in the point of the movie with just like these monsters hunting these people. It really helps with that when you have the tone, the sound, which really is the most terrifying aspect of the movie, but just how well it's done, and it really just makes you really terrified for these characters as you really pulls you in. So overall, this movie is just really an amazing horror film in my opinion. But my only negative with the movie, and it's kind of sort of a negative, I think it could have used a little more development. The movie's only 90 minutes, and about half of the movie is the final act of the movie, with Emily Blunt having the baby, which is really the main kind of arc in the movie. So that's really that's like half the movie. I just wish there was a little more. Obviously, this movie's really good, so I do wish there was just more. It was longer in general, because 90 minutes is pretty short, especially for a movie like this that does move really quickly. So I wish, and I think the emotion would have hit harder in this movie if there was just a little more character development. It is pretty good. Everything is pretty good. I just think it could have been a little better in that regard. Not a huge issue for this movie, but just something I wish there was a little more development for pretty much everything in the movie. But once again, not a huge deal. With the nature of this movie and really like the sound stuff, and these monsters that can only hear, those are going to be plot holes, and people are going to point those out. But I'm not going to go in depth with those. You probably already know what they are. And I don't personally really care about them. The movie is terrific in my opinion. I don't really feel a need to nitpick the plot holes. They do hold it back a little bit just because there is some, like the pregnancy during this whole situation is kind of a little kind of frustrating. But it's like that definitely adds to the movie. The pregnancy, that's the concept that make one of the most intense concepts of the movie. So I'm completely fine with it. I get it. I don't want to nitpick the plot holes in the movie, but they're definitely present, and they might bug people more than they bug me. Personally, I'm pretty fine with it. But anyways, like I've kind of alluded to this whole video, this movie is just really good as a horror movie, but also as a suspense kind of thriller kind of movie, and as really as a drama. The drama elements also really work here. It's just terrific, from the acting to just how they treat the concept to the sound editing, and obviously that great sound editing, how well that conveys the tone of the movie. It's just everything in this movie works. And it feels like a movie that shouldn't work, but it just works so well. And it's really a nod to John Krasinski here, who does a terrific job in directing the movie. And this movie is just an incredible experience. It's really endlessly rewatchable. I might have to watch it again before A Quiet Place Part 2 comes out, because it's so good. And it's really short, and that makes it really easy to watch. I know I complained about it being underdeveloped, but it being 90 minutes also makes it a really quick watch. Like, this movie flies by. It feels like 30 minutes when you watch it, because it's so much happens in this 90-minute period. So anyways, I think this movie is really, really good. So I'm going to give A Quiet Place 90% and 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think it's definitely deserving. It doesn't quite reach 5 stars for me. Maybe it will one day. I hope it does one day as it gets better with every rewatch. But right now I'm just going to give it 4.5. But like I said, this movie is just an incredible and unique experience. And it's just, it's one of the best horror movies that we've gotten in recent years. And I endlessly enjoy watching this movie. But anyways, that's going to do it for my review of A Quiet Place. I can't wait for A Quiet Place Part 2 here at the end of the week. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and tell me what you thought of A Quiet Place down below. How excited are you for A Quiet Place Part 2? Personally, I can't wait. I really like Cillian Murphy, who's one of my favorite actors, so I'm really excited that he's going to be joining the movie. And this is a sequel that's been a long time coming, it feels like. So it's definitely exciting to be finally getting it this week. And that's going to do it for the video. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.